All right, all right. This is something new. This is Foreman. How's everyone doing today? I'm kind of jumping in with an emergency news update. I don't know how else to put this. If you're not familiar, let's see. It's September 19th. Overnight, there was a massive data dump, is probably the best way to put this. Some court documents were uploaded. That's what we're going to be taking a look at today, your top submissions, because it goes through a lot of the developments that happened today. So these documents were uploaded, and apparently a bunch of information that was supposed to be redacted or kind of hidden from public view wasn't. So a little bit before bed Eastern time last night, a little bit after midnight, I started to get some buzzes on my phone and new Xbox controller, new Series X console refresh, cloud gaming future. Xbox tried to buy Nintendo. Like all these crazy headlines were coming at me. Some of them a little overstated, and some of them realistic and quite actual by all assessments, by all appearances. So, without further ado, this is just going to be kind of a light episode, an update episode, and we're just going to take a look at some of the headlines that came out of this, some of your comments, and we'll just take a quick look over here. This was gonna be let's call it your quick update. It's not a normal episode, obviously. We're missing the other co-host. They might jump in from time to time to do these special episodes too, and we're just trying to get more content out there, keep you more informed, to get you more involved, and keep the feeds kind of active. If you listen to the podcast via Spotify or YouTube or wherever else you are finding us, as we often say. So let's get into it here, and you can see the top submission already. You can see the top three actually with the screen share here, but the first one has to do with Xbox Game Pass and uh, revenue, 230 million a month. This is reported by Tweaktown in this submission. We'll see if that's the actual source. I have a feeling everything is going to be sourced from this kind of same court leak. So we got a lot of supporting stories that kind of focused in on individual points. But what we see here is Microsoft reveals a rare look at concrete Game Pass earnings, and it is rare. People guess and speculate all the time. They're how much did they pay for this game? How much did they pay for that game? And we actually got some information on that a little bit later in the day today. Somebody pulled that out, and we'll get some of those numbers too before the end of this. But again, trying to keep this kind of brief. Basically, we just found out that Microsoft makes a lot of money through Game Pass. It shouldn't be surprising. They made 2.9 billion in 2021. That's just a whole lot of dollars that they can reinvest back into the product and hopefully make it better for gamers. We know that they raised subscription rates recently, which is kind of a bummer, but and it remains to be seen if they take these funds, and obviously the goal here is to make profit, but we hope that they use it to make the service a little bit better too. At least I do. So some of the top comments here, a little more clarification. That number wasn't in the documents, but it had two other important numbers. Total revenue of 2021 was about 3 billion. The average monthly sub revenue was $9.26, which is very interesting. It kind of shoots a hole in maybe that whole everybody's on the dollar trial theory that was out there. We knew that Game Pass had 25 million subscribers, so some napkin math, and that's how we arrived at this number. So, and that's from Alyssa BLT. Oh, I'm sorry if I murdered your name. It's my specialty. Replied to by Spacebuns321. This is over on the Xbox Series X community. If you're listening to audio only, that's where we get a lot of the new and current news from. It seems to be the leading subreddit currently for that on Reddit. So where you go to Spacebuns, and their reply is crazy to think that with those numbers what those numbers might look like now, since it's been some high profile game releases on Game Pass since April 2022. An important caveat, an important thing to note with all these news releases that we got, all these details, they're kind of dated. They might be a couple years old. Some of the things that we've seen have the original release date for Starfield, which was a couple years ago. It has Elder Scrolls 6 coming out next year, which is not going to happen. Already confirmed not going to happen. It's a long time off yet. So we know that some of this information might be accurate, but we also know that there are a lot of dated references and maybe dated perspectives would be a good way to put it here. So let's go to the second top submission right now, and you can read it right there with me if you're watching on video. Xbox, the Series X refresh is also revealed in there, and let's take a look at this thing, right? So we're going to pop that open. This, of course, comes from X/Twitter, which is where a lot of this news gets circulated and then ends up back on Reddit. You can call it the circle of video game news, if you will. I don't know how else to put it. So we're going to open up the first frame here. And it's a little blown up on our preview here, but I'll try to get the details to you. And I see my face is in the way if you're on video, so I'm so sorry, but I'll read them. The code name is Brooklyn, spelled Brooklin, not like the city. That'd be interesting to find I always wonder where their names come from for their different projects, but Brooklyn will deliver 4K Gen 9 console gaming with more internal storage. We're looking at 2 terabytes, I believe. Faster Wi-Fi, a new standard, which is a big deal for connectivity. Reduced power consumption, which, if you take away the disk drive, that kind of makes sense right out of the gate, even if that was just the only removal. A more immersive controller is something that we're going to get into here a little bit later. And a beautiful redesign. And, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. If you're on audio, this thing looks like a tube, maybe. It's kind of cylindrical, and it also, with that cylindrical kind of shape, it kind of leaves in doubt a horizontal position. If you have your console sideways right now, your Series X, this one is going to be vertical, up and down, kind of like a tower. And I don't see any other way that you're going to be able to place it. Other important notes is there's a USB-C port on the front. That's something that PlayStation offers. It's kind of convenient sometimes if you only have one of those cords hanging around, or USB-C offers some other benefits as well. The same price, $499 for this refresh. We got to the immersive controller and the more storage, and the new South Bridge to modernize I/O and sustainability efforts. That has to do with power consumption, I believe. That's the updated technologies over here on this side. The Wi-Fi 6E radio for better throughput, latency, and interference mitigation. A lot of home networks now are Wi-Fi 6, and many of them are Wi-Fi 6E at this point. That's kind of the standard for wireless communication, so that's good for gaming, where that probably matters more than almost any other online use. Bluetooth 5.2 radio for improved accessory experience. Again, I don't know what that means, and I wish the other guys were here to help out. Maybe if you're listening at home, you're rolling your eyes at me, but I still don't think that's going to lead to a situation where you're going to be able to hook up your Bluetooth earbuds to your console, for example. But for what does use Bluetooth, it might improve latency. I think this has to do. I saw somebody mentioning maybe with fighting games, reducing lag, so it could have to do with controller interaction too. And then the last big feature here is improved sustainability. 100% recycled packaging, something that's been a big focus for Microsoft lately. So really interesting to see here. And does the console refresh excite you at all? I've been all digital for 15 years, so the disk drive is always kind of a weird accessory for me, even in the Xbox One generation. So I know a lot of people, it's a big deal to them, though, for a lot of valid reasons. So they're probably a little disappointed in seeing this. Personally, to me, I think this looks like something I'd be interested in. Let's see, top comment here as a reminder to link to the source. Something that, talking a little bit about the communities and moderation, something that we're having a little bit of difficulty with today. Again, the source for all these documents is just one port filing, and it makes it really hard to parse the different parts of the story. So we are a little bit lenient, and honestly, we're having a little debate about the need for a source rule. The major intent was to make sure people aren't just doing screenshots of Twitter posts and stuff, which is really annoying because you can't see the context. And in that case, the source would be, where you can read the other comments and maybe some fact checking and that kind of stuff. So something we're working on, but I think we got a good mix today. I think what's up on the front page is what I would want to see as a user if I came here trying to catch up on all the news, which is why we're recounting it this way right now very easily. So let's get on to story number 3 of the day. Marked rumor for now. The lead controller is expected to launch May 24th. I looked at this post earlier, and first let's talk about that new controller before we dive too deeply into this here. I'm sorry. Let's see if I can scoot this over a little. Pardon my bookmarks there. Here's a look at the new controller. The world's best controller now playing on a screen near you. Certainly debatable in some corners. I happen to think the Xbox controllers are very well made, and this design might improve on a lot of the complaints that some might have. So let's talk about them. Play anywhere, Xbox Wireless to Direct to Cloud Play. I am not. I wish I had more information about Direct to Cloud for you, but I don't at the moment. Bluetooth 5.2. That's a really something that we just talked about, the improved connectivity with the controllers. So it's a feature that a lot of people are going to welcome, especially if you play Twitch games like fighting games and that. Seamless pairing and switching. New mobile app features. You can see the paired devices for your controller and switch there. Which I guess if you have your controller paired to like your phone and your computer, and which I do for a lot of cloud gaming and stuff, it might make it easier to switch back and forth. Immersion. We're getting precision haptic feedback. VCA haptics double as speakers. Really interesting feature to me. Accelerometer, quieter buttons and thumbsticks, and this is this is a weird one because we've seen lots of complaints from users who say, "Dang, my controller is loud and it's waking up people in my house at night." And a lot of people blow this off, but I happen to agree with them. The Xbox controllers are really loud and they make it difficult if you're gaming in bed with a partner and that kind of stuff. So a very, very promising update there for people that cohabitate with people that might not want to hear your clicking in the middle of the night when you're feverishly trying to, do some punching or kicking or that kind of thing. So again, back into sustainability of rechargeable and swappable battery pack, which is a little different than AA batteries. We'll have to see if they are still usable in the new controller design. I actually prefer AA rechargeables. Recycled materials, repair and disassembly. They are seeming to be more open to self repair, which I think is a really big move in keeping appliances out of junkyards and saving consumers a little bit of money in the end, too. So, new modular thumbsticks, which I believe means that they'll be easily removed. So, if you get drift, you can pop them out and replace with a new one, which would kind of feed into that self repair narrative. Improved longevity. Okay, we've seen a lot of complaints. My Xbox controllers seem to do very well, except for the one I dropped on concrete, but can't really be mad about that. And continued build improvements. I don't know what that means. That sounds like marketing talk, but hey, there it is. Lift to wake. This is a big feature. You pull your controller up off the table. The thing's going to come alive for you. You don't have to hit the Xbox button anymore. Real time saver, real convenience there, and kind of a quality of life feature that's really nice. And it will have the familiar Xbox feel. The same ergonomics as the Merlin, which I assume is the current Xbox controller, the series controllers. Again, I'm not too familiar with code names. Same layout, activation forces, so it's going to feel familiar to you. And other options as expected. SELEXDL. I actually don't know what that means, but again, if you do, you're probably just like, ha, this guy up here just messing with you. I try my best. So let's go ahead and take a look at any other news that kind of came out of this today, or we can look at comments about this new controller actually. Cardboard Champion says, guys, you are welcome for this new controller. My wife just bought me an Elite, so this was guaranteed to happen. Thank you for your sacrifice. I think is the usual reply to those kind of posts, and it happens all the time with Game Pass games. Someone's like, oh, I just spent $40 on that. Well, it has to be someone, so enjoy your Elite. You'll be fine. Unless you're not. I just want Hall effect thumbsticks. And the new controller, codenamed C-Bile, is about to be announced later this year. Will include an accelerometer. This is more information from the LP. And this is somewhere in here he has why the release date was confirmed. To him anyway, he says May 24th. So we'll just have to keep our eyes open for that and for more of a hard confirmation. Again, I think this is based on leaked documents since the controller hasn't even been announced yet. 4Story has an overall view of the leak. It's from Tom Warren, who is very good with his Microsoft reporting. I feel a lot of people, people have their favorites, and some will say he's a fanboy and that kind of stuff, but it's just kind of how writing and gaming journalism goes. So he's usually quick of a story anyway. I posted a lot about the giant leak. Just as far as comments go, maybe this will help us point out some things that I might be overlooking. We did get some game confirmations. Elder Scrolls Remastered. Fallout 3 Remastered, I believe is in there. Dishonored 3. Yep, and those are all mentioned. Somebody says it's a massive screw up, which they're not wrong. Whoever leaked all this information, I don't know how this happens, and it's almost comical if it wasn't so maybe possibly detrimental to Microsoft's plans for the future. But as consumers, we don't really care all that much about that. It's actually kind of a cool inside look for us. So people are just reacting surprised, and they're just like, "Wow, there's just a lot to take away from this." Kind of side story. Respawn added a new game to Titanfall 2 today. It's just called Question, Question, Question. The servers have come back online, I believe, or something. A lot of buzz around Titanfall, so keep your ears open. I expect maybe we'll get announcements about that very soon, and the Tokyo Game Show will be later this week as well. We will be covering all of this more thoroughly this weekend on our full regular show. Yeah, that's usually recorded Friday evenings. We do it in our Discord. We bring users up. Well, we're going to go through all of this in detail. So again, today's show is just kind of a light update on it. The FTC has denied being responsible for this leak today, which means that it must be Microsoft or the court. There's really only three parties involved in these documents, so it'll be interesting to see what the finger pointing and who ends up taking the blame for this massive, massive data leak. Xbox thought Bethesda was worth $10.5 billion at the time of purchase, but they acquired them for $7.5 billion. So, good budget shopping. I don't know what to make of that story, really. I guess it's just kind of more interesting than anything else since it's a done deal at this point. Starfield's, really growing on me. Kind of an aside here. I'm playing it 3 weeks later and I can't put the darn thing down. So, seems to be doing okay. Liza P is doing okay. I know I'm kind of all over the place today. I'm really just trying to give you tidbits of all the news stories, and I think that kind of wraps it up for the major leagues today. So if I were gonna kind of put a bow tie on this, or a bow, not a bow tie, it's not going to a formal dinner, but I think the big takeaways is we got the console refresh. It's a tube-shaped thing, digital only, supposedly from what we've seen. It's not a hardware upgrade. Just going to be well, it's not it is a hardware upgrade, I guess, but it's not going to add any more power to the console. It's not going to be able to run games better. It's not like a pro model. It's just a redesign is a better way to put it than an upgrade. There's a new controller coming with it. That's pretty big news. The controller has a lot of features people have been asking for, including gyro and lift to wake and quieter buttons. So that's going to be interesting to a lot of people. And we got some Game Pass numbers, how much money they're making, how much they're spending on games, and maybe I can touch into that before I close out here just a little bit. This comes from an Imgur post, but it's all from these same documents, describing some prices that they paid for Game Pass games and what they valued them at. At one point, they thought they were going to pay $35 million for access to Lego Star Wars. That's a game that actually did make it to Game Pass, and we don't have confirmation if that's what they ended up paying, but that's a lot of money. Everything here for your major releases are 35 to 50 million. I think surprisingly here, they had Baldur's Gate 3 expected partner range 5 million, maybe because it's the limited audience, but that's a lot of people's game of the year right now. I don't think that's a reasonable number. And again, this might be from 2 years ago when they made these estimates, which is why we see a game like Gotham Knights evaluated at 50 million, which quite honestly probably came down due to low sales and reviews and that kind of stuff. So anyways, it's just a ton of information like this. Again, we're going to go over it more thoroughly come this weekend. If you want to go over it yourself, please come join us on the Xbox Series X community on Reddit. We'll all be talking and discussing that's the same thing. We'll be talking about it in the community, in those different posts. So we'd be happy to see you join us there. Thanks for checking this out. I don't know what this is. Xbox Talks Daily, and that's what we'll call it. And I'm going to kind of get out of here now and shut up. And hopefully this was informative, and maybe we'll do it again if we have more news to come out of this. So have a good day, y'all.